morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for day 3 of the AHI Leadership Summit, Uniting the Future of Population Health and Virtual Care. This is our 12th annual summit and our first ever virtual summit. My name is Courtney Shaler. I manage the Adirondack Rural Health Network for AHI. I'm proud to welcome you today on behalf of our CEO, Eric Burton, our board of directors, and our staff at AHI. Today's presentation, Law Enforcement Mental Health Referral System, is presented by Doug Meyer of Mental Health Association in Essex County and Terry Morris, Essex County Mental Health. We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors who've lifted up this event over the last 12 years. We encourage you when we get back in Lake Placid in person to visit them at our vendor hall. Now we're just going to go over a few best practice tips so that you can get your most enjoyment out of the session. Please confirm that you're muted and your video is off upon entry. To avoid audio issues, please either choose computer audio or phone audio. Using both may result in an echo on the line for you. For optimal viewing today, we would recommend you using side-by-side mode. To activate side-by-side mode, click on View Options at the top center of your screen and choose side-by-side mode from the drop-down. We also suggest that you click on Speaker View. That way you can see a video of our presenter and the slides at the same time. We encourage you to use chat freely to submit all questions, technical issues, and comments. AHI staff will be monitoring the questions and will come on at the end after the presentation to moderate discussion. If by chance there are questions that we don't get to, we promise to connect you with our presenters after the presentation so that you can speak to them directly. And last but not least, all presentations will be archived on the AHI website by October 9th. That includes both the slides and the recordings. Now I'm going to turn screen sharing over to Terry and Doug.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. My name is Doug Meyer, and I'm the Director of Services at the Mental Health Association in Essex County. I want to say a little bit about our Director of Community Services, Terry Morris. She's a licensed mental health counselor and a CASAC, a certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor. Terry rose up through the ranks and was appointed DCS after Steve Valley retired. And even before she was appointed DCS, she had a vision for better cooperation between law enforcement and behavioral health providers. Since she became DCS, things have really flourished, and there's a great connection now between mental health, the behavioral health world, and law enforcement. In order to understand my passion for LEMHRS, you need to know I've had one foot in law enforcement and one foot in behavioral health as both a provider and consumer for 45 years. I got into law enforcement by accident after I graduated from the University of Colorado in 1977 with a degree in philosophy. I needed a job and took a position at a local university back in New Jersey in the financial aid department. At that time, there was a program, tuition assistance program for law enforcement aimed at getting law enforcement four-year degrees. One of the students I had recently been elected the youngest sheriff in Morris County history, and I helped him with a lot of bureaucratic nonsense, and he offered me a job. Like anyone, like a lot of sheriff's departments, you start off at the jail, and a lot of my colleagues wanted to go. The favorite thing was they wanted to go serve papers on the department motorcycles. Others wanted to go to the bomb squad or work with the bloodhounds. I found myself volunteering for the segregation unit at the jail. I was just fascinated with some of the people that I met there. One interesting person that I met was Richard Kuklinski, who later became known as the Iceman. When I met him, we didn't know that he was a serial killer yet, but he was a really interesting individual. He was called the Iceman because he would put his victims, he was a contract killer for the syndicate. He would put his victims in cold storage to disguise the time of death. So he's just one of the interesting people I met. While working at the jail, I went to school at night, obtained a master's degree in counseling. After I got my master's degree, one of my jobs at the jail was to interview people that had been recently sentenced to long prison terms. Sentencing was on Fridays, so Friday afternoon I would talk with guys who had received like a 10 years or more sentence and figure out if they needed to be in segregation. Eventually I got tired of shift work and moved over to the probation department. Took the civil service test, scored high. I founded the substance abuse unit at the Morris County Probation Department at the height of the crack epidemic, and mainly did DSM-3 substance abuse evaluation for the Superior Court, some 600 of them over the course of my career. I was also a special consultant to the New Jersey Bureau of Parole intensive supervision program. In the early 90s, I took an early retirement. Both of my parents died within a year, and I was left financially comfortable. Moved my family to the Adirondacks, where I was a stay-at-home dad and intrepid mountaineer. I've done expeditions all over the world. I do want to mention that in 1998, I had a serious relapse of an opioid addiction. My opioid addiction started at age 15 when my best friend's older brother came back from Vietnam with a large quantity of heroin. So that wasn't a good thing for a bunch of 15-year-olds. I've been in recovery since September 4th, 2001. So I was a stay-at-home dad until in 2008. The financial crisis forced me to get a job. I lost about $250,000 overnight in the market. So I started looking for a job and saw an ad in the paper for an intensive case manager at the Mental Health Association. I also have a second job as a residence counselor at an OMH facility. So when Terry offered me an opportunity to start working with law enforcement again, I was really excited, and I really have a passion for this. Law enforcement I consider family.
Sorry, I'm having a challenge advancing my slide.
It's okay, you'll get it. You'll get it, Terry.
Terry, yeah, I would say try to screen share again. Usually that helps when we have this challenge.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm gonna share a different form of this then.
Okay.
There you go. Now you can just click on slide 2 if you want.
Can you go to slide view maybe? There we go. Let's see.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Doug. What a great introduction. And I just learned a bunch of stuff about you that I did not know. And it's you really bring a heart into what you do, and to partner with you is really is special, and I appreciate all that you do. So we're grateful to be asked to present at the Adirondack Health Institute Leadership Summit, and we appreciate your interest in what we have to share today. So good morning, everyone, and thank you, Courtney, for your introduction also. Doug and I are so very excited to provide an overview of the Essex County Law Enforcement Mental Health Referral System. And we think the solution that was created in Essex County is both timely and it's relevant to rural New York State. So many of you may be familiar with Essex County already, but I think it'd be helpful to provide a brief overview of how rural Essex County actually is. So while we are not considered a frontier county like Hamilton, that has absolutely no stoplights in the county, we're pretty rural. We're the second largest county in the state, right after St. Lawrence. Our population density is 20.6 persons per square mile. And in Essex County, we only have 7 stoplights, a few in Lake Placid and a few in Ticonderoga. Unlike more populated counties, there's pretty much one of the essentials when it comes to behavioral health services. So we have an adult case management organization, which is Doug's group, Mental Health Association, Essex County. We have one mental health agency, which is Essex County Mental Health, and one substance abuse provider, St. Joseph's. And because of that, we work really well together in a collaborative way to assist Essex County residents in becoming more healthy. When it comes to law enforcement in the county, our sheriff's department has 6 deputies for the entire county. And there are only 3 communities that have their own law enforcement staff. New York State Troopers, Troop B, covers the entire region of Clinton, Essex, Franklin, Upper Hamilton, and St. Lawrence. So that's a geographic area that's about 8,500 square miles. And I wanted to paint that picture for you so that you can better appreciate some of the challenges we face in connecting those who come into contact with law enforcement to the behavioral health serving system. Doug?
So if you take a moment to take in this slide, you'll be able to see that the concept of LEMHRS took place over time. Between late 2017 and mid 2018. And it really has its roots in the formal CIT training that 13 law enforcement officers received in November of 2017. OMH came up and did their formal training. There was also a SIM, a sequential intercept model that AHI sponsored in Lake Placid. By the way, I'm really sorry we can't all be together in Lake Placid for the AHI Summit like we normally do. But Lake Placid, I was there yesterday, it's really beautiful right now. The leaves are really, really happening. Part of the LEMHRS grew out of the cooperation that evolved in the Essex County Heroin Opioid Coalition. That was faithfully attended by then Captain John Tibbetts of the New York State Police Zone 3. And he eventually became the Troop B commander, and the trust developed in ECHO enabled us really to get this program going. We had our first live referral in July, on my birthday, July 10th, 2018. And it really was enabled by our discovering an online platform, WUFU, that allows law enforcement to make referrals on anywhere they have internet connectivity, from their car, from their headquarters. And we wanted to address some of the issues that were identified in the SIM. And we had looked at a formal CIT program, but it really didn't, such as they have in Albany, but it really didn't work for Essex County. So going forward, we coordinate services really well, and Terry and I are really happy with how it's been working out.
So I wanted to piggyback on something Doug said about the SIM exercise that Essex County personnel and Franklin County personnel engaged in, with AHI's hosting that. And really, when Essex County came back to the county and said, okay, we went through this SIM exercise and learned what our the points were, and we came away from that example saying, like, we're not going to probably be able to implement the SIM model in a way that is has fidelity to the model. And really what we had to do in Essex is kind of look at it and go, okay, well, what's going to work for us? Because we see the value in some of those areas of the SIM model, but how are we going to meet the needs of our community rather than doing it the way somebody tells us to do it? So we kind of, I mean, it really was sort of a, how can we do this? And then that's where LEMHRS was born out of. Doug?
So this slide shows some of our partners. Of course, the Mental Health Association, the New York State Police right now, LEMHRS is strictly limited to Troop B. St. Joseph's Addiction Treatment Center. Ticonderoga PD was in the program early, The Essex County Sheriff's Department was one of the initial agencies involved. Recently, we've also signed up the Saranac Lake Police Department for the portion of Saranac Lake where Essex County addresses. Saranac Lake lies partially in Essex County and partially in Franklin County. And another recent addition is the Lake Placid Police Department. And Essex County 911 Emergency Services has always been a partner and really valuable partner. So this slide tells you a little bit about the process. There's no strict criteria for a referral. We trust law enforcement officers to know a behavioral health condition when they see one. We tell them, if in doubt, go ahead and make the referral. Referrals can be for any adult or child, and a referral is made by the officer in the field or back at headquarters via an online link to a short referral form. It has to be short, otherwise they won't get filled out. The referral forms, once the officer hits enter, are received in real time by up to 10 people, and the 10 people is a limitation of the online platform. So I get the referrals, my mobile crisis worker gets the referrals, and several people at the Essex County Mental Health Clinic get the referral, and they're triaged and reviewed in real time. But LEMHRS is not a crisis response program. We don't meet law enforcement in the field and complicate their scene. It's a referral process so that when they come across someone that might benefit from services, that person can get on our radar. It's designed to put community members in need on the radar of providers. Information flows only one way. Once law enforcement hits enter and the referral's made, they get an email back that says your referral was received, and they never hear another word about the subject of the referral again from us. We never give law enforcement feedback on referral outcomes. Sometimes they ask. We don't give feedback for privacy reasons. Occasionally we get double referrals on people, repeat referrals, and we do give those people extra attention. Once a referral is received, we triage it between my agency and the Essex County Mental Health Clinic. My agency only works with adults, so if we get a referral on a juvenile, someone who hasn't turned 18 at the time of the referral, then the Essex County Mental Health Clinic deals with that. And we decide what the best approach between our two agencies for outreaching the person is.
Thank you, Doug. So, so we realize that out in the field, law enforcement has lots to think about and to consider when doing their job. And what we wanted to do is make it simple. So for those that were CIT trained back in 2017, they definitely have a more thorough training in recognizing or being able to de-escalate a situation that involved an individual with a mental health or substance use issue. But for those who may not have gone through the extensive training, we provided a simple overview of what may inspire a LEMHRS referral. So the instructions that you see here on the screen right now are provided to law enforcement staff by leadership. It's, a simple PDF document. So what we've also done is we've printed a business card with the simple instructions and then the referral link, so that's really all a law enforcement individual needs in order to know how to connect the individual to the behavioral health system. So as it says at the bottom of this page, when in doubt, please go ahead and make the referral. We feel that it's better to obtain one referral that isn't necessary or appropriate than to not get it at all. We'll vet it, but we just encourage law enforcement to make the referral. And I also want to point out that because most often we have access to information when someone is sent to a 939 hospital like CVPH, Glens Falls, or Alice Hyde, We're actually more concerned with those situations that don't involve someone going to the hospital. I cannot emphasize the importance of preventive referrals just more strongly than saying that. It's about, in Essex County, we are all about prevention. So the WUFU platform that we use is very flexible. It's, if that's a platform that you would be interested in using, you create whatever questions you want to have in the referral form. So what you see on the screen right now is the points that we have on the form, but I'm gonna unshare my screen for a second, and I wanna show you what an actual LEMHRS form looks like. Give me a moment. So this is what the online referral form looks like. So it has the information at the top of the form that if there was a crisis, law enforcement would know how to get a hold of the 2 24/7 crisis services that are homegrown in Essex County. One is housed at Essex County Mental Health, and the other one is housed at the Mental Health Association. Also, so I'm just gonna kind of scroll this, and then I'm gonna, here's a drop-down field that if the New York State Trooper was the one making the referral, they would just click that. We ask for, if you see these red asterisks, that indicates the information that we really want, which is the minimum information. So what you see is the date, the name of the person, the law enforcement organization, the person actually making the referral, and then what prompted the welfare check or the 941. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with what 941 means, it basically means that law enforcement is arresting someone under the mental hygiene law and taking them to a hospital that has a behavioral health component to it, emergency room. And then this last point is important too, because we ask that law enforcement, have a conversation with somebody about whether they're interested in being referred to the behavioral health system. Depending on how this is answered, promotes a different way that we will be approaching it when we reach out to the individual. Oops. Sorry, I forgot to push. And I just messed up. Give me one moment. Okay, so Doug, this is you.
So this slide just shows some data. Total referrals since July 10th, 2018 is 193. I haven't actually checked my phone in the last hour. You never know. There have been 9 individuals that have had more than one referral. The gender breakdown is 103 male, 90 female. It's not quite half and half. 162 adults, 31 juveniles. New York State Police have made 109 referrals. The Sheriff's Department 44. Ticonderoga PD 33, and 7 between Lake Placid and Saranac Lake. So the finer details of LEMHRS. Again, it's a one-way referral system. Information does not flow back from the provider to the law enforcement agency. It's not a crisis referral program. It's in Essex County, we do have crisis response capability, but that's not what LEMHRS is about. Doesn't require a lot of training. The website platform is very inexpensive. I believe, I have to ask the finance department. I believe it's about $150 a year for the actual platform. And the other expenses we've had are $20 for the logo design, which you see behind me, and $55 for the business cards we distribute to law enforcement, which have just been printed, and new batch has just been printed, and that has just the website address where they make referrals. And Terry mentioned the last question on the referral form is, did people agree to the referral? So if the person did not agree to the referral, we will never give up law enforcement as a referral source. Usually we say a concerned community member, but we will never say, oh, the cops told us you need help. We won't do that. Again, all 941 transports result in referral. And in this way, we learn about individuals with behavioral health conditions we never have heard about. A lot of people with 941 transports to the hospital are seen at the ER and released. And without LEMHRS, we may never even know that that person had a behavioral health encounter with police. And so LEMHRS allows us to get those people on our radar. It really has identified a lot of people that we didn't, in our community, that we had no idea were having issues.
Thank you, Doug. So here are some points that Doug and I felt were important to mention about the benefits that the LEMHRS solution provides. While many law enforcement, especially the Essex County Sheriff's deputies, are familiar with what's available in Essex County, when it comes to resources, New York State Police may not be. So not only does Troop B cover a very, very large area, it's my understanding that Troop B can tend to be somewhat of a resource for new graduates from the academy, and that the staff can be somewhat transitional. So, you know, even as the Director of Community Service in Essex County, I sometimes learn about a program or resource available in my community that I didn't know about. So there's things that are always changing and new resources available. So it's kind of unrealistic for us to expect law enforcement to act as social workers. So Doug and I and the LEMHRS team feel that this solution addresses the current climate of Black Lives Matter also, because we're connecting those in need with the appropriate resources. It's also important to point out, and maybe even to act as a reminder, based on how I described Essex County and and how it's constructed, the county, the layout of it, implementing a strategy that has mental health providers riding along with law enforcement may not be a feasible solution, at least during a time that many of us are facing funding cuts. We believe that LEMHRS works for a rural community, both logistically and economically. And while Doug shared that we don't circle back with law enforcement about specifics regarding individuals referred to us, we have received feedback from law enforcement that their need to respond to individuals who historically they've received frequent calls about, either about or directly from, those numbers of calls have reduced. So that translates into financial savings for both law enforcement and the community. The cost to implement LEMHRS, it was nil, as Doug pointed out. And for those of you who may be a little disenchanted with bail reform, we feel that the LEMHRS system allows providers of behavioral health services to connect with those who in the past would have had access to mental health and substance use services while staying at Essex County Jail. But when bail reform came online, I was very concerned that we would lose an opportunity to provide individuals with valuable resources. So Sheriff Dave Reynolds reminded me that the LEMHRS system can be somewhat of a safety net during that time between arrest and attending their appearance. Doug?
Okay, so these are some success stories of LEMHRS. The names that I'm going to use, the first names I'm going to use are fictitious. The person's name wasn't Susan. The person's name wasn't Jonathan. And on the screen, you can see a de-identified section of the actual referral that we received. So the story of Susan you can see that the welfare check or 941 was prompted by making statements that she was going to injure herself in a vehicle. She subsequently did drive her vehicle up a snowmobile trail and off a bridge in an attempt to harm herself. Susan has a prior history of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The individual, after they got her out of the vehicle off the bridge, they had some difficulty getting the vehicle out of the river without damaging the bridge. The individual was transported to a hospital and was admitted to an adult behavioral health unit. Had a referral not been done on this, she may have had her stay at the behavioral health unit, been discharged back to her isolated cabin, and continued a long history of non-compliance with treatment and medication, and likely made another attempt on her own life. Because of the referral, I visited Susan in the hospital several times, gained her trust. Initially, she was nonverbal, but I continued to go back and visit her. Went to her cabin twice and successfully caught her cat, which had been left there after she was put in the hospital. Took the cat to a vet for shots, which our two agencies paid for. I forget, Terry, exactly who paid for that, but anyway, the shots got paid for, and Terry was able to place the cat with a wealthy family in Saratoga, where the cat continues to thrive. The subject agreed to a placement in assisted living facility. She's now fully medication compliant. She's on an IM long-acting antipsychotic. She's been a patient at the Essex County Mental Health Clinic ever since, and I continue to periodically visit her at the facility. She had lived alone for many years, and she's now in a relationship with another resident at the facility, which is a really happy thing. She smiles and seems really happy when I visit her. She had a diagnosis of schizophrenia. Her first suicide attempt by firearm was shortly after her husband had been crushed to death in a road construction accident, and she'd been isolated in that remote cabin by herself for years after that first attempt. So the second success story happened really quickly, and that was the story of Jonathan. He had made suicidal threats in his home, was living with a stepfather and a brother, tried to access a firearm in the home, fled the home, and police found him in a field. After he was evaluated at the ER, we connected with him, and he was sent to a detox, completed a 28-day program, and got out of that chaotic household, moved out of state to live with another family, and is now in an outpatient program and doing really well. So he was a quick turnaround, and from what I understand, he's doing well, living in, I believe it's a Midwestern state. He's much happier and has maintained his sobriety from what I understand.
Wow, Doug, thank you. Those stories are just, I couldn't help but smile. They're heartwarming, and you know, it really shows that your organization especially really cares about treating people the full range rather than just the initial range. That is,
Yeah, Terry, part of the cat was the woman wouldn't agree to go to assisted living unless we made sure that her cat was all right. So,
right. Yeah.
Although we cared about the cat, our motive was perhaps not as pure as
This
it
is
might
true.
seem.
And I don't want those people to think on the call that we go to that extent, like every time. I'll be getting calls about, like, can you find a cat for home for my cat? So we would be remiss if we didn't have a slide about DSRIP, right? And beyond those benefits I previously mentioned, we believe that hospitalizations and/or rehospitalizations have reduced by approximately 20 to 25% through various interventions that we've provided as a result of the LEMHRS referral system. So for all referrals, we perform a targeted phone follow-up, 100%, and based on the referral needed. For example, if the person is homeless, then that response would probably be more from the Mental Health Association. If the person had a substance abuse issue, that referral would be channeled to St. Joseph's, for example. We do have some referrals that all three parties are participating in on some level or another. So because we receive all 941 notifications, we can connect with the person who was taken to the hospital and was quote unquote treated and released. Because right now we don't always receive that information in the time frame that would be beneficial to the individual. And sometimes we never receive notification of it going through other means. So every time law enforcement does a 941, they are encouraged to do a LEMHRS referral so that we can hop on that situation right away. But let's look at the 2020 data for a moment. As of August 1st, we had 46 referrals in the year. Of those 46 referrals, 7 of them were already engaged in services at Essex County Mental Health, 1 with St. Joe's, and 3 with the Mental Health Association. But here's what's really cool. Of those 46 people, there were 16 individuals who had already established or who established new services with Essex County Mental Health, 1 with St. Joe's, and 6 with the Mental Health Association within 30 to 60 days of the referral. Now, I know the numbers may not match up because you might be doing the math like, well, 46 minus 23 is 23, but 16 plus 6 plus 1 is more than 23. That's because there are some persons that are involved with multiple agencies, so that one person counts for maybe 1, 2, or 3 numbers. So to me, this is what's really kind of cool. Because we can say that 23 people declined our offer to engage, that means that 50% of individuals referred to us through LEMHRS either engaged or were already engaged. I want to say that again. 50% of those referred engaged. So while I know I can't hear the applause right now, I'm assuming that you're all waving the hands in the air and throwing confetti, right? Because that's good. So here's our vision for the future. If hospitals, whether an ER or an inpatient admission, could make a LEMHRS referral, then perhaps we'd be able to capture even more connections. And our goal is to also teach local magistrates about LEMHRS and establish an appropriate manner that they could make referrals at arraignment or when someone attends their appearance. The third item is probably the most exciting. As we shared, New York State Office of Mental Health and Don Kamen, the director of the Institute for Police, Mental Health, and Community Collaboration, have been watching LEMHRS. And Don and Dr. Michael Compton from OMH connected a woman named Leah Pope from the Vera Institute to us. Vera Institute is working on researching a solution like ours for other rural counties in the region. And we are collaborating with other directors of community services in the Troop B region. So Suzanne Leving from Franklin County, Rochelle Gregory from Clinton County, and Jay Ulrich from St. Lawrence County are all looking to expand LEMHRS across the Troop B catchment area. We're awaiting information about the Vera Institute proposal, but it is our hope that by making this presentation today, each of those 3 counties and beyond can implement a program like LEMHRS into their community. Now, we've mentioned a few of these individuals throughout our presentation, but this, oh, sorry, Doug, it's you.
Yeah, no problem. So there's a lot of collaboration between law enforcement. I want to share another brief story. At 2:30 today, I'm picking up an individual that we had a CIT referral on. We tried to outreach him no success. He's been arrested 4 times since the referral. Finally got a call from him yesterday after I left my business card on his door. Can you take me to court in Plattsburgh? So we are going to connect with that individual this afternoon. So that's another brief success story. But LEMHRS, we have bi-monthly meetings with all leadership within Essex County LEMHRS, law enforcement, people from the Essex County Mental Health Clinic and from my agency get together and meet. We used to do it in person. Now, obviously, we're doing it virtually. In addition, we have a triage meeting every month to review referrals between MHA staff and Essex County mental health staff. LEMHRS would not be successful if it wasn't for the positive and trusting relationship that we have. LEMHRS works because law enforcement trusts us. They know that we'll never second guess them. We won't criticize a response, politicize a situation. And it works because we trust law enforcement to make referrals when appropriate. And I really consider it my responsibility to make certain that a law enforcement officer is never injured responding a second time to someone we received a referral on. Many of these people, most people that are mentally ill are not dangerous, but when law enforcement goes to an address for someone with a behavioral health condition, it can be volatile, and we're really there to make sure that law enforcement never has to go back to an address twice.
And Doug, I think your experience in working in the law enforcement world prior to you doing your job now really helps us know, kind of have that mutual understanding between the two worlds with one another. And I think that's been a benefit to how this program is working in our county. So we've mentioned a few of these individuals throughout our presentation, but this program would not have been successful if it wasn't for the law enforcement agencies and their leadership, such as New York State Police Troop B's Major Ruben Oliver and Lieutenant Chris Garrow and their entire staff. Sheriff David Reynolds and all the deputies of Essex County Sheriff's Department, and Max Twaits at Essex County Dispatch. Adam Hurlbert and his staff from Ticonderoga Police, Chief James Joyce, who I understand is on the call today, from Saranac Lake Police, and Assistant Chief Chuck Dobson from Lake Placid Police. The New York State Office of Mental Health staff and Don Kamen, and just as important, the frontline responders of both Mental Health Association, Essex County Mental Health, and St. Joseph's. But the leadership I want to point out also, the Mental Health Association's Valerie Ainsworth and Doug Meyer, and also Marky Torelli. St. Joseph's Addiction Treatment and Recovery Center's Robin Gay, Crystal Crooker, and Brandon Titus. And Essex County Mental Health, Dr. Maria Rayum, David Clement, Jesse Morgan, and Heather Allen. It is this group of people that make the LEMHRS solution successful and allows us to fulfill the mission to help Essex County residents achieve wellness in mind, body, and spirit. This last slide, which I believe you are going to be getting, has our contact information. I see there are some chat room questions, but we did want to have this available to you. And if there's any way we can ever help you in the future, please let us know.
Doug and Terry, thank you so much for that presentation. We do have some questions. Let's see. The first one is, could you elaborate more on addressing the homelessness, please?
Doug, that's you.
People that we receive a referral on that are homeless, we help them connect with our Department of Social Services and get homeless housing. Essex County DSS is pretty good at placing people that are homeless if they're an Essex County resident. And we typically don't have people in Essex County that are sleeping in parks or under bridges. We do have some people that are sleeping in their car for a time, but generally people that are homeless do get placed into homeless housing. And we haven't had too many LEMHRS referrals on people that are homeless. We have had quite a few on people that are couch surfing. And we do try to connect them with Essex County DSS.
Okay. Thank you. There's a question, is LEMHRS connected to the ADK Wellness, the Unite Us referral platform?
No, LEMHRS is strictly for law enforcement. It's not part of the ADK. It's strictly between law enforcement and our agencies.
Okay, thank you. And there were some other questions about ADK Wellness Connection. I'd like to thank Matira Kernam from AHI. She jumped into the chat and put her contact information. So if other people have questions about ADK Wellness Connections, they can reach right out to Victoria. We don't have any other questions, but I did want to know if you had final thoughts you wanted to share, Terry or Doug, or something else you'd like to tell the group.
I appreciate the opportunity, Courtney. I feel like we've done a thorough job at representing the LEMHRS solution, and I think, you know, I'll reinforce the fact that not only was it very inexpensive to implement, it is it's really showing those DSRIP initiatives, and it's connecting people to the proper resource. Law enforcement couldn't be any more pleased than being able to have this solution or this platform, because it's that that repeat person that is no longer having to be responded to by law enforcement. And I know Doug mentioned this, but it bears repeating, but that there are people in our community that Essex County Mental Health and the Mental Health Association had never heard about. But because law enforcement had continually been responding to them, they were just kind of being, I'll use kind of a Band-Aid approach to them being safe in the community. And I don't even, saying the word safe is probably, you know, quotes around it. But now they are connected to the appropriate resources. And I don't know how many people that is. We'd have to probably go back through and figure that out. But it's really helped improve our whole behavioral health system. Thank you.
And hopefully it's coming to your county soon.
I like that, Doug. So Doug and Terry, if anyone's interested in hearing more about that, you'd be very open to us connecting you to them.
Sure. Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you both so much today. If there's no more questions, we encourage, we do have a comment in the chat. Thank you for the great training from Corinne, I think that is. So she said, thank you for the great training. We often get comments kind of after saying thank you. So I want to say thank you as well. This was wonderful.
No, you're welcome.
It
It
was our
was
pleasure.
fun to do.
Well, great. Hopefully you can join us in person in Lake Placid when we get back there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Happy
Right.
Summit, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. And we encourage you to join us for this afternoon session at 2 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Have a good morning.
Jake, I see your comment. I got you.
Yep. That was a good one.